again!
Now I just gotta get the goddamn chair back in place. We can get this show back on the road. Hey everybody, welcome back to Tara's Books and Beyond, where I am back. Where did I go? I have no idea. It's been a long 3 months, and I'm back. And according to my watch, it's just over a week until Halloween, which means I only have so much time to do all of the spooky book tags that I have on the docket. And I figured I'd start things off with one of the newer tags, so this is going to be the Spooky Would You Rather tag, which was created earlier this month by Maddie the Book Pusher. I wasn't actually tagged to do this tag, but I thought it looked interesting, so I'm gonna go ahead and do it anyways. So the first question is thrillers or supernaturals, and I could take the easy answer and just say both. I love a good supernatural thriller, but in the end, I think it comes down to I prefer more fantastic stories. I prefer stories that I wouldn't be able to see in real life. Not that I'd necessarily see something that would happen in a psychological thriller in real life, but like, you know what I mean? It could happen is what I'm saying. Something involving ghosts is not as likely to happen as something involving just a maniac. But what I'm saying is, like, supernaturals, they have more potential to be more interesting because thrillers can only do so much. They're trapped inside reality. Whereas supernatural stuff, yeah, they have their own internal logic, but their internal logic isn't changed by the bounds of real life. So they can do so much more, and they can do so many more interesting things. And so that's why I tend towards supernatural stuff than just a plain old mundane realistic thriller. Now question 2 is ghosts or zombies. And for this one, I'm gonna fall on the zombie side of things, because when you try and reinvent them, it becomes much more interesting. Like with ghosts, there's so many ghost stories, but ghosts you can only do so much because all of the main things that make a ghost, they're pretty infallible. You are limited by what a ghost story means to be. With a zombie story, there are so many elements that you can shift and tweak around and play with, but it's still recognizable as a zombie story. For example, how does zombieism spread? Is it magical? Is it space dust? Is it a virus? Are they mushrooms? What do they eat? Do they just eat the human brain, or do they eat all the human flesh? Are they mushrooms? Do they retain any of their personality, or are they a just mindless horde? Are they sympathetic, or maybe they are just always chaotic evil? Maybe they're mushrooms. And also, what do they represent? Do you go with the classical mass capitalism, mass consumerism, or do you go for something more modern, like mass ignorance? Or maybe it's just a generic parable for the spread of disease. Or maybe they're mushrooms. So yeah, when it comes to those kinds of undead, I am team zombie more than I am team ghost. Though speaking of the undead, question 3 is the classic vampires versus werewolves. Now for this one, I have to go with werewolves. I have always been a werewolf person in any kind of fur versus fang story. Twilight or Underworld, or comparing Teen Wolf to Vampire Diaries, or did Vampire Diaries have werewolves too? I don't know, I only watched 3 episodes of it. The point being, I've always been a werewolf fan, and thinking about it now, I think the reason why is actually the opposite of why I like zombies. Once again, it all comes down to how you play with it and how you want to reinvent it, and I feel like when people do vampire stories these days, they're always trying to reinvent the vampire, and you know, that is easier to do than reinventing a ghost or a zombie, because there's so much vampire lore from so many different parts of the world. You can mix and match whatever aspects you want and do whatever you want with it, but I feel like sometimes people are so engrossed in making their cool new kind of vampire that they forget about important things like plot and characters. Now, werewolf story, werewolves are simple. It's a person and then there's a wolf, and sometimes the moon is involved, sometimes not. There's a few details you can shift around, but generally it's a werewolf story and that's it. And so when you have a werewolf story, you don't have to worry about the mechanics of it because everyone's pretty much familiar. And so then you do get things like plot, and you get character development, and you get all that fun stuff that you might risk not seeing in a vampire novel, or at least a modern vampire novel. So yeah, I prefer werewolves all throughout anything. I'm always team werewolf. I'm always team Jacob. Now question 4 is witches or demons, and I'm going with witches for this one. I actually think a lot of people have gone with witches for this one. Witches and demons both have a lot of diversity within their own stories and within their own symbolism, so I think it just comes down to the aesthetic. I like the look and the feel of witch stories better than I like the look and the feel of demon stories, and so that's what I tend to gravitate towards. Alright, now question 5 is, would you rather read a book with 13 chapters or read a book with a black cat on the cover? And I'm black cat all the way for 2 reasons. First off is that I don't get why people don't like black cats. Whenever I hear about someone not liking black cats or thinking there's something sketchy about them, I'm like, what's going on? Who are you? What year is this? Like, what is your deal? Come on! And the second reason is that I have a touch of triskaidekaphobia, which basically means I'm kind of afraid of the number 13. Like, I get really anxious if I'm in a situation where I have to deal with the number 13. I don't like leaving things on number 13. If I'm on the 13th level of a video game, I have to push through until I'm on the 14th. If I'm on the 13th chapter of a book, I have to push through until I'm on the 14th chapter. I can't leave 13's just sitting around waiting to corrupt my life. So yeah, black cats, they're great. 13, I don't trust her. Alright, so the 6th question is a longer one actually, so I have to read off my computer screen. Would you rather read a spooky book in the dark with only a candle for light, or by yourself in a locked, brightly lit room? Have I locked myself in the room, or has someone else locked me in the room? If I'm the person who locked myself in the room, yeah, that's fine, because I have done that. I normally don't get like super wigged out by books, but when I have been in the situation where I close the door, you know, just keep the demons out, and then I turn on all the lights and I blast some power pop, some 90s funk to go on. I'll bring my dog in the room because, as you all know, pets provide an aura against malevolent spirits, and then I can read it and I'm safe. I have my protective bubble. So yeah, if I'm the one who put myself in the locked room situation, that is fine because that is my domain. But if someone else has put me in the locked room, then I'm like, no, I'm not down with that. I'd rather just be in the dark with the candle. Like, at least the candle is a light source, and like, then you can actually read. Because I mean, reading in the dark, you can't read in the dark. You'll hurt your eyes, man. Now, number 7 is, would you rather face your worst fears or be trapped in the mind of a killer? And I think I'll just go with fears for this one because, like I said, I get really anxious when confronted with my fears, like the number 13. I think if I was forced to face them, like if they all came out at once, if I was in some kind of Divergent-style simulation of all my worst fears, I think I could power through. You know, I may not enjoy it, but I can deal with it at least. Now, number 8 is, would you rather watch a scary movie or read a scary book? Now, I think everyone in my offline life knows this. I am not good with watching horror. I can read horror and I can listen to horror through like podcasts. I mean, can even look at horror if it's like comics and graphic novels or even like still images. But if I'm watching horror in a movie or a TV show, that's when it starts to get into me, just because that's when it ingrains inside my head and some part of my brain is like, now this is possible. Even if it's really shitty horror with like shitty effects, my brain's like, no, the really bad Muppet demon could come into your room at night and eat your face. And I'm like, yeah, brain, that sounds reasonable. But if I'm reading a book and it could describe the most gory, terrifying, evil presence in the world, and I'm just like, yeah, whatever, man. It's words, bro. I'm not scared of words. I ain't scared of letters. Pah. So when a book is actually able to scare me, like, those are automatic 5 stars because you beat me. You beat my brain, man. Good job. Alright, so number 9, yeah, that's right. Number 9 is, would you rather read scary books just in the fall or all year? And I'm fine either way. I usually don't do seasonal reading, but I get the appeal of it. I have tried to do it before with like themed months of my reading. The only thing would be that if I'm reading spooky ghosts for the fall, it can't just be a generic like, horror. It has to be a specific kind. Like, for example, last year, I read all zombie books during October. If I was to read all scary books, I would want to do something like that again, like all werewolf books, or all vampire books, or all general serial killer books, something like that. It has to be like a more tighter category. It can't just be horror. It's too vague. And number 10 is, would you like to read 10 spooky books in the year or 10 spooky books just in October? And for this one, I want to do 10 spooky books in October because that would mean that I read 10 books in 1 month, and I've never been able to pull that off. If the price I have to pay is only reading horror in October and I don't get to read it outside the month, but I get to read 10 books in 1 month, I am absolutely doing that. So that was the spooky Would You Rather tag. I hope it was sufficiently spooky for y'all. I am not going to tag anyone specific just because I'm late to the game, so I think everyone I would normally tag has either already done this or has already been tagged to do this. So, like, I'm going to tag all of y'all, dear listeners. If you guys see this, then you guys do the tag. I can't wait to see what you do. And if you're liking this video, you can check out my other stuff by subscribing to my channel. You can also like and share it to let other people know that, hey, I'm kind of a cool dude. You can also follow me on Instagram and Goodreads, because those are the only 2 social media sites I use other than YouTube. And not even that much. I need to get into them. We're all works in progress, me especially, and it's been a long 3 months, and I still have to work out the kinks to get back into this. I took a long break, I had a great vacation, now October's nearly done, the year's almost done. Damn, the year is almost done. But you know what? We're good. We're okay. We're coming back. We're bouncing back, and this is gonna be real great last 2.3 repeating months of 2017. So, God, I'm a mess. But I will see all of y'all later.